The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that feds need to know in 15 minutes or less. So whether you are a seasoned federal employee or whether you're just starting out in your career, Fed15 has got you covered. So grab your coffee, kick back. We'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed in the federal space this week. We are your host. I am Katelyn Murray, and I am joined by the man in black himself, not Johnny Cash, folks. We're talking Dan Sipe.
Who doesn't want to be in black? I know it's slimming and it's good for a man my age, and they tell me it sets off my beard nicely. But I don't want to wear this. Okay. And why am I wearing this, Katelyn? I was festive week after week after week. Okay. Dare I say, being a giddy fool for the season. And now all of a sudden, we got an issue with the CR. Okay, I'm not going to get into slinging mud, calling names, anything like that. Congress, just pass a clean CR. Say, hey, we don't want the government to shut down. Here's a CR. But wait, I think this other stuff is important. I agree with you. Bring it up, debate it, pass it. Yes, like legislate.
Oh, yeah.
Government shutdown should not be a parliamentary maneuver. Please, 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 for the sake of the country, for the sake of the constituents, for the sake of all the men and women who came before us to build this great nation, just pass the CR and then fight out all the other stuff. That's what makes the two-party system so great. I have one point of view. You have another point of view. We're going to hammer it out. Neither one of us get exactly what we want, and the people are going to win. Pass the CR. Pretty pleased with sugar on top.
Couldn't agree more. And also in kind of latest news as far as, what's going on up there in D.C., we Social Security Fairness Act, folks who are tracking that, the latest update as of the recording of this podcast, which of course, could shift. The latest update is that we are facing a vote. Chuck Schumer said that they'll be voting on the Social Security Fairness Act today. Hopefully, that is, I think, the plan. So it's already passed kind of several key hurdles. Obviously, already passed in the House. There was a vote, 73-27, 2 days ago to approve a motion to move forward with consideration of the act. And then just yesterday, they voted again 73-23 to proceed. And, the hope is that maybe that can get pushed through as well. So obviously we'll be watching that, continuing to kind of keep an eye out there. I know there's a lot of CSRS folks hoping for an outcome there.
And the spouses especially.
Yep. For sure. All right. Well, lots going on this week. This is our last.
What do we got?
This is our last episode of 2024, and man, it is jam-packed. We got voting going on. We got Dan in black, and we also have a couple of great articles on the blog this week. We're going to talk specifically. This one's a little bit different than I think some of our run-of-the-mill, more regular content. This is geared specifically at millennials, the millennial federal employee essential guide to retirement. Now, if you are listening to this and you are a millennial, first of all, welcome. Second of all, you may be thinking, oh, retirement. Wow, that's way too early. I'm trying to get these kids raised. I'm trying to, I'm trying to buy a house. I'm trying to do all of these midterm goals. I don't even have time to focus on retirement. folks, the key is we got to be focused on retirement early. So we're gonna kind of give you a starting guide to get you rolling there. And then a little bit later, Dana is going to talk with us about a topic. This is a piece that Dana and I actually co-authored for the blog on a topic that has been of major concern for feds as of late, and it is Schedule F. Now, this is something that has been brought to our attention by our clients and the feds that we serve as, something that's weighing very heavily on them. And obviously, as a firm that serves federal government employees and retirees, we would be remiss if we did not address it. So Dana is gonna give us a fireside chat on that and talk
Absolutely.
through some of what you can be doing to deal with that Schedule F related anxiety if it is affecting you. So before we get there, let's talk about millennials and retirement.
Absolutely. Never too early.
Yeah. So the millennial group of folks, of which I am on the older side of, I'm an elder millennial myself, we face a very interesting set of circumstances, right? High student loan debt for many of us, limited affordable housing for many of us. If you look at price increases in the housing market over the past 20 years versus the prior 20 or 30 years, there's a staggering difference, right? The prices have just been going up and up and up at a much higher rate. Inflation, also a major factor. All of those things can make retirement planning difficult for millennials, in combination with the fact that the world and the federal government as well has kind of shifted away from pension-based retirement to do-it-yourself retirement, essentially, through vehicles like TSP. So millennial feds specifically, which is who this information really is primarily geared towards, have an advantage. We call it the FERS advantage. Millennial feds benefit from FERS, which can provide a solid foundation for retirement. But let me be clear here, millennial feds. It is not the only income that you will need in retirement. FERS, Social Security, they are great foundations. They are great kind of fixed income pieces of the puzzle. But you are going to need to leverage your TSP if you are going to want to, retire and have a long, happy, healthy retirement where you're not constantly worried about living and fitting into a fixed income situation. So how
Absolutely.
do we maximize? Yeah. How do we maximize those benefits? So
By becoming a millennial millionaire.
Yeah, there
Sorry.
it is. So first step is FERS, right? FERS being the first step, it's a great first place to start if you were just getting into learning about your benefits. FERS was established on January 1st of 1987, and it basically, the FERS retirement plan as designed by the federal government has three legs. We talk about this a lot. FERS pension, TSP, and Social Security, all right? FERS payments can begin once you're eligible for retirement and you decide to actually retire. There's a couple of different types of retirement. You've got deferred, you've got disability retirement, you've got early retirement, and you've got voluntary retirement. For most folks, you're going to fall into the voluntary retirement category, right? You do make contributions to FERS. You kind of contribute as you're working throughout your federal career, all right? When you retire, that then translates, those contributions, both yours and your employer's, translate into a pension that you can expect. There are a lot of factors that go into the pension calculation. Years of service factors in. The age you are when you retire factors in. If you're curious about any of that, I encourage you to sign up for our FERS webinar that we have periodically here at Serving Those Who Serve. You can find it at STWServe.com under webinars. Under the webinars tab, you can register there. So the second leg on our stool, Social Security. Social Security for millennials is a hot topic. It is, and I say that not in everyone's talking about it because most millennials are focused on the now and the midterm. I say hot topic as in controversial, right? Because Social Security, as we all know, faces some pretty significant challenges at present. And there are a lot of folks who are in this millennial camp who are really concerned that Social Security in the version that we know of right now may not exist by the time they reach full retirement age, which right now is 67. Those concerns are valid. I will also say, as far as problems that we as a nation face, fixing Social Security and making sure that that vital, critical program receives the funding that it needs, fairly straightforward problem to solve. The issue is folks can't agree on how to do that. But we can be reasonably certain that some version of Social Security will exist by the time millennials are facing retirement transitions. So that, again, is another fixed income component of the FERS retirement system. FERS and Social Security are both eligible for cost of living adjustments. So those fixed income streams will be adjusted for inflation. However, it's important to remember that based on the COLA calculation, in periods of high inflation, you're always going to be about 1% or so behind whatever the inflation rate is. So that's why I tell you, you cannot rely on the FERS pension alone. You cannot rely on Social Security alone. You have to leverage that third leg of the stool, which is going to be your investment portfolio. And for most Feds, millennials included, the TSP is a huge piece of that. So similar to a private sector 401k, TSP allows you to save money. If you're in the millennial bracket, then you can save $23,500 a year beginning in 2025. And you also get an employer match on top of that. So your employer will put funds towards the TSP as long as you are putting enough in to get that full match. Okay? So you want to make sure that you're putting in enough to get that match. You will automatically be signed up for 1%. You need to make sure you're putting in at least 5% so that you can secure your employer match. And then make sure that you are investing it accordingly. So when I say contribute at least 5%, I mean at least 5%. Ideally, you're going to want to work yourself up to contributing that maximum $23,500 contribution. Okay? When you hit 50 and older, you'll be able to put in an additional catch-up contribution, which will help speed things up. But I'm telling you, do not rely on being able to contribute more in your 50s because you could have additional financial obligations. You could have things that come into the mix there. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't save to your TSP for 20 years and then you turn 50 and you start putting in the max plus catch-up, you're not going to catch up to what you would have had if you saved as much as you could for those 20 years. So don't be deceived by that. And then as far as other steps that you can take as a millennial, you want to make sure that you're learning. And this is really for everybody, millennials and not. The federal employee benefits program is so vast and so varied and so detailed that Dana and I literally do this for our job, and we are learning new things every day. Okay? So you've got to stay informed. You've got to know the basics at least, and you've got to be digging into the details. The great place to do that is with Serving Those Who Serve. We put a ton of free content out on the blog. We have webinars on all of the major components of your benefits plan. Start with the FERS pension, then move on to TSP, then move on to tax planning or financial planning, or FEHB is a great one. So definitely avail yourselves of those free resources. We have a lot of information available to us through Google. Most of that information is not vetted. With Serving Those Who Serve, you're getting a team of certified financial planners, chartered federal employee benefits consultants who know this stuff inside and out and are here to help you answer those questions. Stay up to date on retirement-related developments. Serving Those Who Serve absolutely has you there. Other great organizations and agencies to follow, the Social Security Administration. That's a great one. Just to stay up to date on the latest news that could affect your income, that could affect your retirement planning. If you have maxed out your savings, if you are a millennial Fed and you are listening to this and you're like, Katelyn, I've got this on lock. I'm maxing out my TSP. I'm killing it. You need to start looking at opening things like a brokerage account. Look at opening a Roth IRA. Look at building out that investment portfolio, because although the TSP is definitely the cornerstone as a Fed, the broader and more varied that you can build that investment portfolio under one comprehensive strategy, the better. So if you are a millennial Fed and you're juggling, a lot, you're juggling saving for a house, you're juggling kids, you're juggling college funding, reach out to us. We are happy to help you put a plan together. I promise you, it is never too early to start planning for this. You may feel like it's crazy. You're in your 20s. I'm talking to you about retirement, but if you start in your 20s, the road will be so much smoother and the outcome can be so much greater. So start now. The best time to start was yesterday. Second best time is now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure.
Sage advice.
Absolutely. And I would say too, if you are listening to this and you're more kind of in our usual target audience, if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and you have a kid who is in that millennial group, send this to them, Fed or not. A lot of the stuff is universal. So get them going.
Absolutely. So great advice, Katelyn. Now I want to talk about something that really is a legitimate source of anxiety for our feds. And that is the return of Schedule F or Executive Order 13957. Pinch of background here. It was introduced in the previous Trump administration. It was revoked in 2021. And basically, the idea is that career people could be converted to appointed positions, making them easier to dismiss. And I think that's really at the core of it. Katelyn's right. We have a great article that we worked on. Get to the website and read it, because we're a little limited in time here, so we can't read the whole thing to you. But, under merit protection, there are barricades for willy-nilly dismissals and things like that. So here's the reality. It is likely that the incoming administration will look to reinstitute it. If it is successful, it will mean, and we've seen estimates as high as 50,000 people could be reclassified as appointed. They would have reduced protections. So what I really want to focus on is, what can you do? Okay. What should you do in these types of situations? And that's one of the things that I'm most proud about for this article, because, we've worked closely with feds. For me, it's nearly 4 decades. And believe it or not, I have seen administrations coming in vowing to restructure, reduce, you name it. And from this, we have learned that the fears are typically worse than the actual outcomes. I'm not making any predictions here, but hear this. Fear is fine. Don't freeze. Now is the time. Right now is the time to ask questions and learn. There are many opinions about how this might be implemented, how many feds might be affected. There are likely going to be legal challenges ahead of full implementation, and that means it takes time for something to happen. I'm not going to predict how long, but it's time. It's not tomorrow that it happens. So use that time. I can't stress that enough. Follow reliable news sources. Okay? We're going to be following this, publishing new updates as they arise. Hey, we love our friends at the Federal News Network, as well as GovExec. Okay? Make sure that you are going to reliable places for your information on this. Understand the difference between information and opinion. Okay. Also, know where you are in your retirement process. This is a great time to read up on early, postponed, deferred retirement options. Yes, check out our articles and podcasts and webinars. They're there for you. Okay. But also, there are some best practices for, ironically, the way we began this, shutdowns. So review your obligations and your budgets. Beef up that emergency fund. Okay. But also, don't forget to take care of you. Take care of your emotional and your mental state. Fear of the unknown, we get it, can be excruciating. But the simple truth is that man's worst fears seldom come to pass. That little nugget was given to me by a great friend and career Fed, Department of the Navy. And it has carried me through many uncertain times, so I share it with you. Okay? Make sure you're taking care of yourself. The reality is the Schedule F proposal could drastically change the landscape of federal employment. It could have significant implications for worker retirees, but it's unclear right now what it's going to do. Stay informed and be proactive. whether it's adjusting for retirement savings, diversifying investments, or preparing for potential shifts in job security. Stay ahead of those changes. And remember, above all, you're not alone. We are here to navigate those challenges with you. Okay? We're going to be here. So check back with us. We will do our best to guide you through this because we love you guys.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Couldn't have said it better myself, Dan. I think, there's a lot of uncertainty around a lot of things. This is part of life. Change and uncertainty is 100% part of life. As humans, the way that our brains are wired, the current uncertainty is always the scariest. But think of, all the prior uncertainties. I mean, we're dealing with a world that made it through the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? And that was a huge deal, right?
Absolutely.
So I think, keeping that perspective, validating your own feelings, taking care of yourself is key. But then also having that perspective in there that, we've gone through hard things before as a country, as a people, and as individuals, and we've made it through. So really good perspective there. I would recommend maybe bookmarking that article for those times when the Schedule F anxiety rises. And obviously, Serving Those Who Serve will be here continuing to monitor and offer updates as we know more, as there's more information to sink our teeth into.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that's all we have for today. I know this one's been a little bit of a shift from our festive last couple ones, but we understand the gravity of our position in this for you. We take it seriously. We take looking after you seriously. And so that's why you can count on the fact that we will be back next week to bring you the latest updates you need to make informed decisions about your career and well-being as a Fed.
Absolutely, folks. And analytics shows us that 82%, Dan, did you know this? 82% of folks who are watching our videos are not subscribed. So please, please, please subscribe to this podcast.
Hit that subscribe button
on our YouTube channel. Subscribe there so that you never miss an episode. If you're a vocals only, audio only person, subscribe on Spotify. And please, please, please remember to share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. Like I said earlier, if you're not a millennial, but you know a millennial, send them this article or send them this podcast. If you were talking at work about Schedule F anxiety with somebody and they don't know about Serving Those Who Serve, send them this podcast. We would love to have them be part of the gang here and help keep them informed. So please do subscribe.
And for more information on the topics that we covered today and everything else, check out the blog.stwserve.com, or you want to make it easy, subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving. Then we will shoot it straight to your inbox every single week. You don't have to go looking for anything. We'll get it to you.
Excellent. And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for feds, we do have some great webinars that are coming up here in the new year. We've got some good ones for my millennials who I was tasking with some homework of learning about those benefits. We've got some great ones coming up. January 7th, we've got a FERS webinar from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that's going to help you gain a basic understanding of kind of the FERS pension plan and how all of that works. We also are always taking care of our CSRS folks. So we've got the same session for CSRS specific folks, January 15th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it's the end of the year, Dan. You know what that means. Holiday season's over. We're heading into tax season, my guy.
Yes,
so
yes.
We've got a tax planning webinar coming up on January 9th for you guys, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Highly recommend checking that out. There's a lot of kind of tax info to know about your benefits, and that can be a really good time to start digging into that. Of course, if you prefer a one-on-one approach, we can also accommodate that. Feel free to reach out to our team directly for a financial planning consultation to learn about how our relationship with Serving Those Who Serve can help you better prepare for the future. That email address to reach out is askstws@stwserve.com.
Absolutely. So, folks, thanks for coming through this year with us. We're going to stick with you. Thank you for listening to Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray. This year and
we
next.
will see you. Yep. And we will see you next week and next year.
See you there. Can't wait.